Greetings everybody. Today we're going to be covering training for the Camino.
The most common question I get asked is, do I even need to train for the Camino? Well, before I answer that, let's put it into perspective, shall we? Most people that walk the Camino walk between 20 and 25 kilometres a day. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but a half marathon is 21 kilometres. So you're basically talking about walking a half marathon every single day, day after day after day. So you tell me, do you need to train?
The first question to be asked is obviously, do I even need to train? Well, that's as individual as you and I. Personally, I consider that there are three major factors that come into play here. The first is, of course, age, the second, fitness, and the third, the length of the Camino. Age, look, let's face it, if you're late teens to maybe early 30s, your recovery time is going to be significantly faster than mine is, for example. If, however, you're 35, 40 upwards, recovery time is going to be longer. Second is fitness. If you already enjoy a basic good fitness level, then it's not going to be as much of an issue to you. You can complete your training in a relatively short period or just go without any. Plenty of people do that. But here's the third factor, the length of the Camino. Because let's face it, if you're planning to walk the entirety of the Francaise, you're looking at completing it in somewhere along the 5 to 6 week line. You've obviously got time to ease into things. You've got time to recover from injuries. If you're only walking the Ingles, 120 kilometres long, or just that last 100 kilometres of the Francaise from Sarria, you might want to give serious consideration to a bit of training, because if you don't, you could suffer accordingly. As far as I'm aware, there are no official statistics for the people that drop out from the Camino, but it is estimated elsewhere that there is somewhere between 5 to 10% of people that start never complete it. Now, of course, there are going to be some people that fail to complete it for very simple reasons, like the unfortunate death of a family member. It is suggested that the majority of people who actually fail to complete the Camino do so for physical reasons. Injury, of course, is a big part of it, and as we all know, a little bit of training can help prevent injury.
Let's get started. The first thing to do is quite simply get up off the couch, put on a pair of comfortable shoes and go for a walk. Do aim to try and do 5 kilometres. If you're not up to that yet, that's fine, build up to it, okay? And then take it from there. Most people can manage around 5 kilometres. If you can, fantastic. It should take you somewhere between an hour to an hour and a half. But whatever you do, don't push it just yet, okay? Take it easy. Enjoy. Incidentally, in this video I'm going to be using kilometres because it's what you use over here in Europe. The Camino's all measured in kilometres. All of the mile markers, as they call them, are in kilometres. So that's what I'm sticking with. If you need a quick translation, basically 10 miles is 16 kilometres. Halve that, then logically 8 k's is 5 miles. So yeah, I'm sure you can figure it out from there. Once you can handle doing 5 kilometres 3 to 4 times a week for, let's say, 3 to 4 weeks without any issues, then take it up to the next level. Add half an hour. That's going to be around 2.5 k's. Once you've gotten, say, another couple of weeks under your belt, you're comfortable with doing that extra time, then step it up the next level. Increase it to 10 kilometres. Now, I appreciate it's not going to fit in everybody's schedule, okay? So remember, the most important thing is keeping things consistent. If you can continuously do your 5 kilometres 3-4 times a week, and once or twice a week do 10 kilometers, you're well on your way. That's the most important thing, consistency.
Introduce your gear, backpack on, around 5 kilos into it, and get out, give it a try. Make sure it's adjusted properly. If you're having trouble with that, consult a friend, consult the shop you bought it from. Worst case, look on YouTube. One tip for you, a 1 litre water bottle is 1 kilo. So it's pretty easy to gauge roughly what 5 kilos is. If you've already gotten your shoes by now, this is the time to actually give them a road test, as it were. You don't have to break in modern trail runners, but it's a really good idea to find out if the style and the brand that you've bought works for you. And walking 10Ks, preferably 2-3 days back to back, is going to give you a very good idea as to whether that's going to work or not. This is the time to learn to deal with your foot issues while you're on training. Because if you find out for yourself the various signs that are leading to discomfort, which can end up leading to a blister, you are going to learn how to prevent it. Whether it's by changing your shoe sock combo, by adding something like Vaseline into your routine, by simply taping the hot spot, or like I do, using hiker's wool. You'll get yourself sorted, you'll know what to do if you come across that situation on the Camino itself. And you're far less likely to develop blisters. There's an excellent video series on dealing with blisters. I will put the link below. Okay? Alrighty. You've tried your shoe sock combo. You've got your backpack properly adjusted. You're walking with that once or twice a week. It doesn't have to be every day of it, okay? It's just to get yourself used to that. You can still continue with your day pack so long as you've got a couple of kilos of weight in it. But you've done a bit of walking with it and you know that you've got it fitting as well as you can. What next? Poles. Are you going to carry poles or not? And there's the rub. I said carry. No. The only time you should be carrying poles is walking in and out of the albergue or a shop. The rest of the time, you should be using them. Don't be one of those people that just walks up the hill with them and then puts them in their bag. All you're doing is adding extra unnecessary weight. Learn to use your poles properly. There's an excellent video from Chase at Chase Mountains. Now that video is something like 6 or 7 years old, but I've done a significant amount of research and it's still the best one that I've come across. There are other videos out there and some of them give truly bad advice. When I was younger, I was not somebody that walked with poles. I was astonished to find that after just 3 days of learning to use my poles, I was comfortably walking another 2 or 3 kilometers in the same time frame that I had previously done it. That's pretty significant. Poles also not only help you going uphill, they significantly reduce the stress on your knees on descents, and they help you on the flats from slipping, whether it's on a simple little stone or something on the path, on a slippery, wet area, whatever it may be. One little point, if I may, please don't be somebody that goes and clicks and clacks their way across the terrain. Yes, some people say that you need to leave those carbide tips exposed. You're on the Camino. You're not up on the mountains. You don't need that, okay? Put on rubber tips. They make them quieter. They actually give you more grip in certain situations, and they will improve your walk. And for €5 at Decathlon over here, they cost almost nothing. Choosing poles is the subject of a whole different video. You don't need the most expensive ones out there. You just need to get something that works for you. Mine are cheap Decathlon ones over here, bought in Europe. You can buy them even before you start your Camino here, so you don't need to worry about bringing them on the plane if that's what you're worried about. Easy really, eh? walking 10Ks 1 or 2 times a week, 5Ks the rest of the time. You've tried your shoe and sock combination, you've used your poles, you're comfortable with them if you are. You've done some training with your bag, you've got it fitted properly. What's the next step? Well, logically, just adding a little bit more mileage. Quite frankly, if you're used to doing 10Ks and you can do that 2 or 3 days in a row, say over a long weekend, without too much major discomfort, you could actually start the Camino tomorrow. If you can actually take that up the next level, you're going to be even better off. So the next stage, of course, is trying to increase that to 15 kilometers, again, once or twice a week. When the opportunity arises, for example, a long weekend, go out and do 2 or 3 days back to back, just to make sure that everything is still working as you anticipated.
I mentioned earlier not pushing it too much. I mean that, okay? It's not worth injuring yourself before you even leave. I did it before my second Camino. It was a bit of a last minute thing, and I thought I'd go for a couple of training walks. On my third or fourth, I doubled my distance, and that was seriously dumb. So yeah, I was very lucky to be able to actually start my Camino at all. And I was luckier still that my body responded positively. So yeah, just remember, don't push yourself too much. If you feel like stopping for a break, stop for a break. If you need to have music, take some music with you. The whole thing is about enjoying yourself. Go to a cafe as your goal for the day and then walk home again. It doesn't really matter what you do. It doesn't matter where you are. You can be walking in the city, or like I am, out just on the edge. Either way, if you can get to somewhere that's more enjoyable for walking, do it. But if you can't, just make the most of those opportunities that life provides.
Do make the most of the opportunities that life provides you, whether that be walking to your next appointment, taking the stairs, or getting off the bus 1 stop early on the way home.
My 1 stop early happens to be 8 kilometres from home, but that's okay because it's a beautiful day and I'm enjoying the walk.
Okay, so the training in a nutshell: start slow, build to 5 kilometres a day, 3 to 4 times a week. Increase from there by half an hour, so around 2Ks, to 7, maybe even 8 kilometres. Again, preferably 3 to 4 times a week. Step it up again. Get to the stage where you're going minimum once a week, preferably a little more, 10Ks a day. Simple. The next step is to get your rucksack fitted properly with a little bit of weight in it, 3 to 5 kilos, something along those lines, and to get out walking with it on a semi-regular basis, preferably once or twice a week. Get yourself comfortable with wearing it. Poles should be introduced at this stage, certainly when you're doing 10 kilometres, and get used to using them and using them properly, or just don't take them. Logically, the next step from 10 kilometres is 15, from 15, 20, 20, up to 25. Remember though, this is assuming you've got the time. It is much better you start with only having gotten to 10 kilometres at a time and doing that on a regular basis than that you injure yourself while training. You can always start off a little bit slower for those first few days, see how you're going once you're on the Camino, and then step it up from there. If you're doing one of the longer Caminos, another few kilometres on a daily basis is easy to accomplish once you're at trail fitness. Finally, make the opportunity to walk 3 to 4 days back to back at whatever your target distance is at the time, whether that be 10 or 25 kilometres a day, and make sure that everything's working well for you. All good? Then you're good to go. Enjoy your Camino.
So they say you should go training in all weathers, but I'm not anticipating snow in April on the Camino, at least I certainly hope not. So I'm not going out right now. It's 1 degree, which, you know, I might get a frost or two, but really, snow? No thanks. I mentioned earlier, training is about making the most of your opportunities. Well, it's turned out that it's a good job I brought my poncho with. I didn't expect this, but it started to rain and it is not letting up. So yeah, it's still really nice out here, but it's another good opportunity to test my gear.